Right, so welcome to my new vehicle. I finally ended up getting myself a Nissan ENV200. I've always wanted one for long distance driving, only because I could turn it into a camper, and that's exactly what I've started to do to this van. Now I do miss being able to take my gwiz on those kind of journeys, but unfortunately the batteries, as I mentioned in a previous video under the gwiz playlist, the batteries that go under these seats died over winter. So I was looking at a lot of different solutions in order to get this back on the road and give me the range, because I've got to be places in April and May, and this car, I just couldn't find a reasonable reason. The battery packs that are in it at the moment are 12 kilowatts, so but I can't use all that capacity. I mean, it's 15 kilowatt hours, but I can't use all that capacity because they're 60 volt cells, and this car will only run because of the AC controller, it will only run at 60 volts or less. So yeah, I had to find another solution, and looking at different battery banks and ways to try and achieve what I needed, there just isn't any out there that have the voltage that you need in order to get the optimal voltage range running the car. I can get some normal Tesla modules. I found some, in fact, at 700 each, which would have given me around 20 kilowatt hours for 2000, what was it? It was 2,800. It would have given me the 20 kilowatts of power, which would have given me a similar range. But the problem is that they would have been running from 50 volts down to 40 volts. And once you get below 48, 47 volts, the car starts to really underperform. It doesn't do the speed you want, and especially once I'm towing with my trailer to my sleeping pod, then it's going to be an issue. So there just wasn't any reasonable way to get this on the road. And the other problem with my little yellow car here is that we're still waiting for the inverter to be fixed. So I couldn't get this on the road either. So that would have worked, but I would have had to get some chargers sorted out so it wasn't slow at charging on the drive down. But this could have potentially been a solution, taking the tow bar off of that and putting it on this. But that didn't happen, unfortunately. So I'm still waiting for the inverter to be fixed, and any other possible solutions like the battery banks that I've already got, I've sent them off to be tested to see if they're any good. My old lithium packs, they're currently being tested now, but I do not know if they're going to be any good, or when I can get them on back up and running. So and I'm still going to definitely be down 6 packs, because 6 packs were definitely not very good. So yeah, trying to get this with the range that I needed for travelling was going to be a bit of a problem. So this is still going to be my local runabout for little journeys until I get this one on the road, and then I may or may not sell this, I don't know yet. But I'll definitely keep that one on the road. I might use this one for an off-road vehicle for, like, once I get the other cells back, whatever ones are still working, I'll have it like an off-grid power bank. But anyway, that's enough for the gwizzes for now. We're moving on to the Nissan ENV. So if I open this door here, oh, I love this actually. I love how you just press this. You've only got to have a key in your pocket. Like, I've never had a car this modern before. I never have. Like, all my cars have cost me £1,000 or less mostly, apart from the gwiz after building the battery packs. But as you see, I've already put some work into this. We've got a bed system in there. We have this tabletop which comes out over this space here and gives me my bed space. We've got our curtains coming up here, which will close over, and that's pretty much it really. I've got a lot of storage space under there, and I may or may not build a cabinet into that corner. I haven't decided yet. Just put a bit of board over the roof. It's all insulated with thermoacoustic foil, all behind these flat panels as well, and things like that, and up above the roof. I'm going to put I've got an inverter to fit, which will go down here, but I'll talk about that in a moment once I open the bonnet. But look at that, it's quite a it's quite a posh car compared to what I'm used to, but it is an amazing drive. But now the beauty about this car is that it does have the 6.6 kilowatt charger, which means it will charge at the same rate of the gwiz, and it's the same size battery. And towing the trailer on the gwiz, I could only get up to 70-80 miles anyway, so I can do the same range with this van, pull up at a Tesco charger and still get a bunch of free electrons whenever I'm on the road. I do miss the quirkiness of the gwiz on a long distance, the people that come and turn their heads and have a look and have a chat. So maybe I will get something going so that on the summer months or something I can go away in it, but it may not be this year because it needs some work, it needs some attention before it's good for that kind of journeying. Right, let's have a little look at under the hood. So this isn't like your normal combustion engine, and oh yeah, the other thing I can do is turn this on here and we can look at some of the stats. So the beauty about this van here is that it's got hardly any miles on it. Look, so this is, it had 3,800 when I first got it. It's been sitting for about 5 or 6 years doing nothing. It's a 2014 model, so it's been sitting for 7 years and it's done nothing. But if I press this button down here, we can change these here. So as you can see, it's got the 6 kilowatt charger. It shows it on the stats, and average economy, there we go, 75%, and let's see, what was that, there you go, battery capacity. As you can see, it's still got 12 whole bars, so that's pretty amazing right there. But it's the Techno version, so I've got this fancy screen to use with a bunch of other settings. I like, when I'm driving, I like leaving it on energy information so I can see exactly how much power I'm pulling and things like that, and how much power is being used. So unless I need the sat nav, I usually leave it on this screen here. But yeah, let's just turn that off and let's come back round. Have I up? Yeah, I've done the bonnet, so let's go and have a look under here. Right. Okay, so this is a lot different to a combustion engine. You no longer have that oily mess under here. I don't know what that is. I think that's either corrosion or it's a surface thing that can be cleaned off of the aluminium, but it's not a huge issue. I mean, it's a pretty clean van. There's hardly anything to check under here with a Nissan, with an electric car. I've got the coolant for the cooling of the battery and using around, like, I think it's for the heating and all that kind of stuff. But then you've also got your brake servo, that's normal. You've got your windscreen washer. That's all I had in the gwiz, was those two things to worry about. The only third thing I have to worry about is that, but apparently they never really go down in the first place. We have a 12-volt battery for powering all the 12-volt electronics inside the car, and then under there you've got your Shademo. You've got your Shademo, and you've got your normal charge socket for plugging into the house or using the 6.6 kilowatt charger, and everything's built into this tidy unit here. So you've got, I can't remember which order it is, but you've got a charger and inverter somewhere in here. Gosh, I forget which it is. There's a DC converter in this block, there's a charger, and there's an inverter which powers the motor down right at the bottom. So it's almost shaped like an engine, isn't it, with the cap on top, but it's not, and it's quite silent. I love the drive. The only thing that really irks me a bit is that this was an old British Gas van, so it's got the commercial noisy when you're trying to go, when you're below 20 miles an hour. But I guess it's good because it's so quiet that no one will even see it, hear it when it comes up behind them. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to do today that I'm going to work on. There is a inverter that I'm going to fit. It's a 1500 watt inverter, and that provides most of my power needs. I've got an induction hob that works with that. My little heater is 750 watts, even though I could use the climate control, but it might use a bit more power using the climate control. And what I'm actually going to do is a couple of things. So with this, this is actually the perfect base for a camper, because you can actually turn on the ignition and leave it on, the contactor's engaged, and you're running the DC to DC converter, which can power maybe 1500 watts or something like that. It can power about 1500 watts max of utilities inside the camper, and you're using the main battery bank then So there's no need for a leisure battery, you've got it all built into here. And I'll put the inverter onto this battery here, running all the way back through a hole over there, and that would run back into the back of the van. Okay, testing time. I have wired it all into here. I'm not going to lift that back up, but there is a connection bolted onto there. I've put a 120 amp fuse in line. This is 16mm squared cable, and that runs all the way back here and through there, and it comes out behind the dash, and it comes down here and in through there. And I have got the inverter all set up here ready to test. And if you have a look here, I've grounded the negative to the seat joint, and there we go. So testing. The thing that I want to keep an eye on with this is voltage drop. So I've got the ignition turned on, which is why it's up at 14.4 volts at the moment. But there we go. I love this inverter. It tells you exactly what's going on here. Now, if I turn this on, that's the heater. This is a 750 watt heater. So there we go. And the voltage drop is absolutely minimal, which is better than I had suspected, to be honest. And this is about the kind of power I'd be pulling anyway. If I'm running the induction hob, that's around 800 watts as well. My blender's 900 watts. So the fact that this is holding out really well is a huge bonus. I mean, it's dropping a little bit, but that's just the DC to DC converter doing its thing. But there we go. The DC to DC drops pretty quickly once the battery charges up anyway. But look at that. We have got this, and this is just a cheap inverter from Amazon. It was only like 140 quid or something, and it's a pure sine wave. But there we go. The heater's on, and that's working. So let's just turn that off, and that is a bonus. So that's going to go on the back of the seats here. I'll show you when that is done. And the other thing I wanted to mention about this setup here is that I've built it in such a way that it comes out. So the purpose of this camper build was so that I can still use it as a van if I need to. So what I've actually done is put straps on this end, and that keeps it steady. That keeps it steady there, and it's fixed into the points for anchoring any cargo. And then on the back, I've bolted it down into the anchor points at the back. So there we go. It's very sturdy. It's going to do its job in here. And yeah, I've got my curtains up. And after that inverter's in, it's just going to be a case of seeing how I'm going to fit my luggage and everything like that. But there we go. So there's the finished thing. Into the fuse, cable tied around. And there you go. You can't see it now, it's all tucked under here. And then it comes out in behind the seat. And there we go. Looks good. And then that's all connected. That's perfect. The only thing I'm not so sure on with these is that doesn't feel like a very strong terminal. Like when I plug the heater in, it feels like it's barely even fixed in there. So that's the only thing with the cheap inverter. But as long as it works, we'll be okay. So there we go, guys. That is the progress so far. I'm already thinking about what I can do to tinker with this fan. I tinkered with my gwiz a lot, as you can see in the other videos, and I'm already thinking about what I can do extra. Like what I would really love to do is to have a solar panel system with the most efficiency, covering the roof, covering the bonnet, and what I would love is to be able to use it through shadow mode, so that I can directly charge the battery pack at high voltage. But I've just got to figure out how I'm going to do that, and then I mean, yeah, that's one possibility. I just need to understand how all that system works, because I've never worked with high voltage before. I'm okay with low voltage cars, I'm okay with messing around with the little gwiz. That's just like that's just so simple. But with the Nissan ENV, it's a little bit more complicated. I'll have to learn a bit of canvas to do a few tweaks and things like that. But yeah, I don't know how long it will be before I do end up touching and messing with things. We will have to see. But there it is, guys. That's it for now. And at the end of this video, I will add a few photos of the progress from turning in from a van into a camper. I forgot to video that part, so I'll just add them in as a few photos at the end of this video. So watch this space, because this is going to be my forage mobile, my travelling companion when I'm going away again this summer. And but I won't completely ignore the gwizzes. They're still going to be used for runarounds, but I will probably do the next update on them when either I get the batteries fixed for the silver one, or it comes down to the yellow one. I'm waiting on the yellow one for the inverter to be done, and once that is done, there will be a whole lot more videos coming out on the yellow gwiz. So that so I'm not done with gwizzes. I've just got a bit of a hiatus on them while I wait for certain things to fall into place. But yeah, there we go. This is my new electric vehicle that I'm going to be driving around in this year.